Hello and welcome to this episode of Music with Tony Toppi. Today is part 3 in the analysis series and we'll be focusing on the topic of rhythm. So just a bit of a recap on the previous episodes. What is analysis and why is it important? Well, it helps us to unpack the music, to find out how it works, to understand the different layers, to help us improve our own performance skills, to see how others tell stories in music, and to see how others interpret music and therefore how you can too. Always, when we analyze music, we are looking for the expressive outcome. What is the purpose and what effect does it cause? So, what is it? It's the overall effect that the music has on the listener. Everyone will have a different opinion of the expressive outcome, and that's perfectly fine, as long as you can justify your expressive outcome with concrete musical examples. Other words for expressive outcome may include general character, mood, or expression. So simply put, all analysis questions will ask you to identify certain elements of music and discuss how they affect the expressive outcome. So to the topic of the day, rhythm. What is rhythm? It's actually one of the fixed musical elements. So we've had expressive ones, which are elements that can be manipulated or changed by the performer to create some sort of expression. But the rhythm is something that the composer has put in place and ultimately we can't change. It is the combination of various durations of notes. So how notes are arranged in beats and crotchets and quavers, etc. And it's very much separate to melody or pitch. So think of it in terms of, if I can clap it, it's the rhythm. Singing is the pitch, is the melody. So they're two separate things. You mustn't get the two confused. So what do we talk about when we talk about or write about rhythm? Here is a little image. So firstly, tempo here in the center. Tempo is the speed of the work and it is an expressive element. So here's a bit of a crossover. So you can definitely talk about tempo in terms of rhythm or in the rhythm-based question, but understanding that tempo is still an expressive element and can have variation and changes depending on what type of expression the performer wants to include. The time signature, not expressive, it is fixed. So it's simply how the bars are grouped into amount of beats, etc., or pulses. And are there any changes? Sometimes a piece may not necessarily always be in 4/4 or 3/4. There could be a variation or changes within that. Next, we have pulse. And the pulse is the constant or regular underlying part of the music. The bit where you might sort of clap along, on claps 2 and 4 or something like that. Then we have the beat, which is how that pulse is divided. So the pulse being the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the beat might be something like doom, chunk, chunk, boom, chunk, boom, chuck, chuck, boom, chunk, for example. They're very similar, those two, beat and pulse. So just be very mindful of how we speak about them and make sure in your writing you can be clear. They can be interchangeable. Some people might say it's the opposite way around. The beat is the constant regular and the pulse is the divided part. I think if we're clear, then we'll be right. Rhythmic patterns. That's the repetitive phrases. If you think of a piece like the William Tell Overture, da-da-lum, 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 bum, bum, da-da-lum, 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 dum-dum, that's got that really constant rhythm. Some might call it the horse galloping rhythm, for example. So, do we have some of these in there? The structure is how those rhythmic patterns are arranged. Do we have one, then we introduce a second one? Do we have a third one when the first one drops out, etc.? So what's actually happening? How is it structured? And always, how does that affect the expressive outcome? The relationship between rhythmic parts. It would be very strange to hear a piece where for the entire piece, every instrument, voice, whatever, has the exact same rhythm. So it's important to delineate those rhythms between the different instruments and the different voices within that, and talk about how they relate. Do they relate? Are they completely juxtaposed? Are they very similar? Does one complement the other? Maybe, we got a drum going boom, 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 and another instrument going cha-cha, cha, cha-cha, cha. So the two lock in to create a more unified rhythm, as opposed to, your bass drum, doom, 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 da 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 da. So we got some sort of push and pull there between the two parts. And finally, we have silence. How is silence used? This is slightly different to the use of silence in dynamics. The use of silence here is probably more timed silence. Whereas in dynamics, we spoke about how silence can be organic or it can be abrupt. But here, I think it's a bit more to do with how a composer has incorporated silence into the actual rhythmic profile of the work. So let's launch straight into a listening activity. We're going to listen to an excerpt of Eine Kleine Nachtmusik, the piece by Mozart, otherwise known as the Serenade in G major. First movement, just the exposition, and performed by the Ivy String Quartet. So let's have a listen, and while you're listening, I want you to think about the rhythm, what the parts you can clap, and see if you can hear the different layers. So it's obviously a string quartet, so we're dealing with 2 violins, viola, and a cello, 4 different voices. Let's see what you can hear. So that was just the exposition of that piece. Let's have a look at the score. Normally I wouldn't do this, but it's just going to help illustrate the things that we're talking about here. So here's the score of the exposition. And let's just have a quick look at some parts of this. So we look at the first 4 bars up here. And hopefully you notice that each part is in rhythmic unison. Every part is playing the same. To me, that creates a very stately, very regal sort of expression there. Bum, 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 bum. Excuse my pitch, but today's about rhythm, not pitch. So it's a very stately rhythm, I feel, and very even, very structured, very symmetrical, especially for Mozart and the classical era. We then move into the next line down here, and you can see there's a very clear melody up the top and accompaniment down the bottom. But we have something really cool that Mozart has done. He's got just basic quavers, dung 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 dung, in cello and viola. Second violin is filling in the gaps. It's got a bit of a rhythmic drive to it now. He's trying to build the excitement, I feel, here through the rhythm. As we move to the third line here, the next 4 bars, we see that the melody then is joined with a harmony or counter melody here with the second violin. But Mozart wants to keep that excitement. He jumps that semiquaver pattern down to the viola. So we still get this sense of excitement. But what are we missing? We are missing the doubling up of these quavers here. So he's obviously trying to bring us down a little bit to begin the second theme here, which is marked as piano. And we can already see, even just visually, that the rhythm has slowed down. Da dee da da dum da da dum da da dum da 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 dum, and it repeats. Very classical of him, with some little slight variations. Dee dee da 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 dee da da dee da 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 da, and then we're building excitement again. The semiquavers have now come up here into the violins. And now he's even doubled up the semiquavers. In fact, we could even say tripled up, because we've got double stops happening in the violas. The excitement of this piece is just continuing. We have then here some juxtaposing rhythms for a very classical way. Offbeat crotchets, or crotchets that are starting on the and of the bar, here in the violins. And the cello and viola have just got the straight quavers. But here is the best part. Here's our beat. Da 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 da. But what happens here in the seconds? So go from here again. Da 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 digga 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 dip bum bum bum. He brings that excitement back. So we have a moment, I suppose, of a change of expression, perhaps something more, how can we say, maybe loving, something more longing, perhaps. Then he wants to build the excitement back all the way through this section here with this reintroduction of the semiquavers. We have offbeat crotchets here. And then we have a complete change for second theme here. Da-rum bum 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 bum, da-rum bum dee-rum. So once again, a slowing down of the rhythm. We've got shorter notes on the beats rather than longer notes. And we also have these little falls. Da-rum. It's a bit like a sigh, like we're at a bit of an exasperated expression here, for example. Then what does he do? He starts to introduce that excitement again. And whilst the other instruments are continuing this sort of exasperated feel here. Once the violin 1 has introduced that rhythm again, what happens? He continues with the tune up here, and 2 of the other parts take over those quaver rhythms until we get a full-blown quaver thing happening through to the end of the exposition. So what have we got here? We've got what I described here as the stately mood. We've got a growing of excitement here because of our semiquavers. We've got sort of a loving feel here, perhaps, or longing, whatever you want to talk, with the longer rhythms. We then have the excitement again, building back up with these semiquavers. And then we have sort of a, in a way, a bit of, where was the building down section? Yeah, here we were sort of building down here to that. And then here we've got this juxtaposing, conflict of rhythm. So we've got some conflict. And then he's bringing us right back down here to sort of a languished mood here with these shorter, more sparse, exasperated notes. So I'll put I'm not good at spelling. Exasperated. So sorry if that's actually wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Exasperated. We then have the excitement building again here. And then drives us right through to the end. So it becomes very driving towards the end here. So let's have another listen and let's see what we come up with. Oops, sorry about that. Just a quick little revision. We'll talk about some of these other elements here. Although we've sort of spoken about how the relationship of parts are there, the rhythm patterns, the use of silence. We'll get to that in a brief moment, if you don't mind. And here we go. Very stately. Here's the excitement in the second violins. And he's bringing us down a bit. Loving. Da, dee, da, da, yada, bum, yada, bum, yaka, taka, da, ba, bum. Here he's stretched the rhythm. The tempo has stayed the same though. We're getting more excited here as we build the rhythms to a big climax right there. That conflict. And how does he resolve the conflict? It sort of feels laboured, exasperated. But there is a glimmer of hope. The excitement comes back with these first violins. Ooh, there's a bit of music there that's bringing us back. And here we have rhythmic unison again, all together. Unified to bring us back to that stately feel, and the ending just sort of hinting a little bit about that sort of loving and languished feel right there. So use of silence, just very briefly, not a great deal, but you look right at the very beginning in the stately statement of the theme, I suppose. He's got rests in between. Da, bum bum, not da da dum. So I would imagine that the use of silence here is to help create that stately effect, and then in the exasperated part to give breath to the music there. So that's an introduction there to rhythm, and just pulling apart a short excerpt there of how the rhythmic elements work in this particular bit of music. Actively listen to your own recital pieces. How does the composer use rhythm to build the expressive elements or the expressive outcomes? As always, if you have any questions, queries or comments, please feel free to email me at tonytoppi@me.com.